A very warm welcome to our tour today at VillaStuck. VillaStuck is a museum and a historical place in Munich, and we are here and we will get a live session with the museum director Michael Bohrs. We will not only walk through the exhibition rooms, but we will also get a lot of information and insights behind the scenes. For example, there is this one exhibition which is not even open for the public yet, but we will be able to look inside and see how it is constructed and how it is prepared. A big thank you goes to Mastercard and to priceless.com and also to Muckbook for organizing this and making this event possible. My name is Anna and I'm right now at VillaStuck standing at the office of Michael Bohrs. Michael is the museum director and he's the person who will show us around and also answer all of our questions. I'm very excited to meet him, so let's start with the first stop of the tour, Michael's office. Hi, Michael.
Hello.
It's great to see you.
Well, great to see you. Great to have you in my office.
Thank you that you invited us to come and to have a look around. This is your office. What does a normal working day look like in here?
Well, actually not like this.
Okay.
I'm hardly in my desk, but if I am, you catch me in the right moment, obviously. I'm answering emails right now. I'm preparing a text for various others, which is a gallery weekend that will happen in Munich mid-September. And we are part of the program with our contemporary exhibitions, which we will see, I guess, in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm answering some emails, writing texts here, but most of the times I'm actually in the exhibitions or in meetings. So this is one of the rare occasions I'm in the office, actually.
Okay, okay. So I think it's a good idea to get up, have a look around and see the exhibition room.
That would be great. I'm happy to show you around.
Nice. VillaStuck was not always a museum, right? When did it become one?
Well, the whole complex was built obviously by Franz von Stuck, first of all as his residence for living with his family, for working, for producing his artworks. And it's a museum since 1968. So actually, some 2 years ago, we celebrated the 50th anniversary of VillaStuck as a museum. At the beginning, it was a privately run museum. Since 1992, VillaStuck is a municipal museum, so we belong to the city of Munich. Mm-hmm. And in 50 years, a lot of things changed. Mm-hmm. What has not changed is that we are here in front of the garage of Franz von Stuck.
Where are we now?
This foyer actually didn't exist in Stuck's times, obviously.
Okay.
It was not the time of steel and glass architecture. This was actually just simply the passage to the garden to bring his car to the garage. Mm-hmm. But in here, with this model, maybe I can talk a bit about the whole complex about VillaStuck. We will, in a few seconds, enter the historic villa, which Stuck built in 1897, 1898, for himself and his family. He was married to Mary Lind Paintner, and they had a daughter, Maria, but later on she was also called Mary. So this is the old villa. And then 20 years later, he was able to build the atelier wing, das Ateliergebäude, which he used for his sculptures in the ground floor and for paintings in the upper floor. And once he was able to extend the building in that sense, then also the garden was kind of complete and was the backing of the whole complex. It's important to know that at that time when VillaStuck was built, Bogenhausen didn't exist in that sense. Like the area where we are now, it was kind of beyond the river, beyond Isar, and in that sense, like out of the city center.
Outside of the city, yeah.
But Stuck opened the development of the whole area with his villa.
So it also influenced the area around.
Exactly. This opened the whole area, actually.
Okay.
So now we enter VillaStuck, but actually not through the old and the historic main entrance, but from the side. And in the back you can see the main entrance that people were using when they were invited by Franz von Stuck to his villa. I mean, that was kind of it was a huge honor to be a guest at Stuck and his family, to meet the artist himself in this very special setting. And in here, in the reception room, they met him for the first time, I should say, because he had his self-portrait above the door. Not many people have their own portrait in front above the entrance door, but he did. He was a very confident man. Okay. And he was building this, like the whole thing. That's why we talk about a Gesamtkunstwerk, actually, when we talk about VillaStuck. Because he was not an architect, obviously. He was an artist. But he took on the job to not only build the villa itself, to divide the spaces according to his aesthetics, but he was also doing the furniture, obviously the painting. He was buying works from art dealers in order to create this universe here at the museum.
So it was all created by himself, by Franz von Stuck?
It was all created by himself. I mean, obviously he had a company to build, but the plans, the drawings, the floor plans, all this was really done by himself.
Did it already look like it looks now, back in the days?
This space specifically is more or less original.
Wow.
So we are very lucky really to have those spaces in their original layout, which is kind of a complicated story. Stuck was obviously living here until his death in 1928. Then the family continued to live in VillaStuck, but obviously it's a big effort to maintain such a building. So, well, it got more and more complicated. Then there was a damage at the end of the Second World War. There were different people using the space after 1945, and in the 60s there were even plans to just simply demolish the whole building. So it would actually be gone if not a Munich architect, Hans-Joachim Zirsch, who was growing around the corner actually in Bogenhausen, growing up in Bogenhausen, decided that he will buy VillaStuck from the family and do a renovation. And, I mean, we were talking about the history of the museum, open it again to the public in 1968. I mean, thanks God to him, we still have VillaStuck, otherwise it would simply not exist anymore.
Yeah. What are the sculptures we can see around us?
Well, in here we are in the former dining room. So whenever family Stuck was having dinner or lunch or whatever, then they would sit in this room. In the meantime, we are using this space to present the collection of the museum, which is mainly painting, but also works on paper and sculptures. And we can see one example here, the Frühne, which actually is the latest acquisition of the museum for our collection. It is actually a gift by the friends of the museum. And is a whole body of work that is very important for Stuck as well. He was doing those sculptures in editions of 5 or 10, and they were good selling. So they were actually also contributing to the fact that he was able to build VillaStuck. What was really done here, and later on we will see his studio, are the paintings.
Okay.
And well, we will look at one now, which is the Guardian of the Paradise, which actually was done even before VillaStuck was built. It was first shown in an exhibition in 1889. It was a huge success. Not only he was selling the work itself, but he made also a lot of commissions afterwards. He was 26 years old when he was painting this work. And he was 36, so 10 years later, when he built VillaStuck. I'm too old for this. I will not make it to Villa Bohrs, but I mean, it is a fascinating career for someone who started with illustrations, drawings, working for magazines and so on, that suddenly you come up with a painting like this.
So this was his big breakthrough.
Exactly.
Okay.
This really made his career.
Okay. So thanks to that picture, we are able to walk through these halls.
Exactly. This is the so-called Musiksalon. So you have a certain dramaturgy when walking through those spaces. You have the vestibule, like the entrance hall. You have the reception room where Stuck would meet you. You maybe have dinner, and then the Musiksalon was used to have small concerts. So the whole space is dedicated to music, actually. Again, the furniture is still original, so we are very lucky to even have the chairs and everything here in that room. And you have two more sculptures of Franz von Stuck, like a pair of sculptures, the Amazone on the left and the Centaur on the right, which always go as a pair. At the same time, the Amazone is also the big sculpture in front of the building, kind of a signet of VillaStuck if you pass by on Prinzregentenstraße.
Yeah. I noticed that one, yeah.
Now we will go up to the first floor, to the studio of Stuck, where he was actually producing his artwork. He had quite famous students, actually. For example, Kandinsky was studying with him. Paul Klee was also studying with him. He, well, for good or for bad, he influenced quite some important artists.
Okay. Okay. What is this? It looks like an altar.
It is an altar, which actually is something that it was quite common among a certain group of artists to have this kind of altar-style construction in the studio.
So it used to be here back in the days?
It used to be here from the beginning. He changed it from time to time.
Okay.
But what we have now here in front of us is really is from 1905. We can identify this because of the painting that we see in the altar, Die Sünde, which, when we were talking about Guardian of the Paradise being the painting that opened all those possibilities, this maybe is the second most important one because it was kind of a bestseller.
Okay.
He showed it for the first time in 1893 in the first exhibition of the Munich Secession, which he founded with other artists. And where you have amazing comments by people who saw that painting, the naked women, the snake, screaming, running from the exhibition because they were shocked.
Okay.
But it also sold very well. So we know now that he made 12 different versions of the Sünde, of the sin. The original from 1893 is now in Neue Pinakothek in Munich, but there are others in Zurich, in Berlin, there's one in Seattle, so they are spread all over the world. We are lucky to have one that was always part from the moment he was painting it, of the altar, actually.
Do they all look the same?
They have similarities, but then they also have differences. Like the skin of the snake might be a bit darker or more green or whatever, and the face of the women changes as well.
Okay.
So this whole space kind of was dedicated to painting, obviously, because Stuck was doing his paintings in this room. And so for us, it made a lot of sense to bring the exhibition in from Margret Eicher, who is an artist based in Berlin, who is also dealing with painting, although she is using a completely different technique, because as we can see in the walls, those are tapestries, so works on textile. But as we can see, for example, in this piece, she's referencing all the different concepts of painting: modern painting, conceptual painting, postmodern painting, abstract painting. So she is actually using a painting of Paris Bar in Berlin, which we can see here, as the setting for the whole scenario. And she's introducing two painters, German painters. You have Gerhard Richter on the left, you have Martin Kippenberger on the right. And in the center of the piece, you have Scarlett Johansson, the actress representing a painting by Vermeer van Delft. All this is kind of put together on the computer. Basically, this is kind of a Photoshop work that then is being transferred into a pattern for a tapestry machine. Stuck also had tapestries in this room that you can actually see under the pieces by Margret. It made a lot of sense to bring these pieces to VillaStuck and to talk about the historic aspects of tapestries and how you can transform those into something like a visual world of contemporary culture. So you have slogans from the Berlin Underground in that in those works. You have Desperate Housewives, Lady Gaga, and all those people that are kind of the protagonists of Margret Eicher's work. Maybe while we are here, I should also tell you a bit about the spaces that we are walking through at the moment, because this actually here was the sort of private space of Stuck and his family. This was actually used to be Franz von Stuck's bedroom. We don't have any furniture anymore here in the first floor. You can see some of the decorations still in the walls, but mainly we use these spaces for exhibitions, like the one of Margret Eicher that we have here at the moment. Maybe we can talk a little bit, or I can tell you a little bit about her technique with one of the tapestries in this room. You can see that she's referencing again a historic painting by Sandro Botticelli, the birth of Venus. And then you can see that she's using different types of images. Like in the center, you see Beyoncé. You can see that is kind of a modern contemporary architecture, which is actually an underground station in Frankfurt. And then you can see at the same time that the whole composition of the image is referencing the historic painting. With all those details, you can see flowers, you can see kind of tattoo-ish like illustrations. And all those details, they form the overall composition.
And the whole picture is printed on very traditional material, right?
Yes, I mean, the tapestries were actually used in a, let's say, in a royal context. So if you were a queen or a king, you would have tapestries in your representational rooms in your castle or wherever. Stuck considered himself, and he was called ein Künstlerfürst, an artist prince. So it had some sort of logic that he would use this royal technique to also emphasize his role as an artist around 1900. And that all those things were the main reason behind this exhibition, because we do have the historic setting of VillaStuck. And we do have an artist here, Margret Eicher, who is based in Berlin, that is trying to move this old technique into contemporary times through the images that she's using for the tapestries.
I've never seen such an impressive combination of techniques and topics coming together.
It takes a while not only to be put together in the computer, but then also actually the time of the production is quite intensive.
Wow, what is this one?
I mean, you can see here the Ninja Turtles kind of being the bodyguards of Julian Assange. In the background you have different images from news talking about the Iraq war, about different stories, whistleblower, all those stories that we were confronted with over the last years. And again, she's turning those into one of those rich tapestries. It's very interesting because in the first space that we saw in the old studio, we saw them in color. And the tapestries in color, they do have more that historic feeling. And also the reference to painting is more close and more direct. While, I mean, I really like those ones in gray tones, in black and white kind of. They are more like a drawing actually, but they have a lot of space, a lot of deepness in them, which also comes through the way how they are produced in the end. From the bedroom, you go to the dressing room, and this is something that really happened by chance, because no one knew what would happen with COVID-19. When we were planning this exhibition, no one was talking about the coronavirus or anything. But in the former dressing room, you have someone who's wearing a mask, actually. We were already planning this exhibition that we just visited with Margret Eicher, when one day I met an artist who is based in Munich, Beate Passo, in the café of VillaStuck. And she handed over to me a book, and she said, look, this is my latest project that I was doing for a museum in Augsburg. Actually, the Textile Museum in Augsburg. And, well, it was not so much shocking, but it was really a surprise to be preparing an exhibition on tapestries, on textiles. And then an artist that you never worked with before is coming up with the same topic. Yes, what we can see here is maybe the centerpiece of the exhibition, which is actually called Monkey Business. Margret Eicher and Beate Passo, they are almost from the same generation. Anyway, they do have a different background. Margret Eicher is dealing with painting as a reference in her work. While Beate Passo, that we are seeing, her work we are seeing here now, is dealing more with photography, because that's also where she is actually coming from. Installation work, photography. That is one of the Fridays for Future demonstrations in Berlin. And I mean, here you can see quite good how Beate Passo is manipulating the work, because actually what she does is that she's using the image of the demonstration in front of the Brandenburger Tor, but then she's inserting this image, which is again demonstrators, but also this image of Greta Thunberg, and putting them together, combining them in one image. So, as you could say that on the contrary to Margret Eicher, she's not so much using details and the bordure of the tapestry, the framing of the tapestry. This is all very clean and very straight. But through the combination of different images, she's creating a story. And that story is a very political one. Monkey Business is mainly dealing with Europe. Beate Passo loves Europe. And at the same time, she's very afraid of Europe, because she can see that Europe is in a very fragile moment in its history. There are different, well, let's say, crises going on at the same time. You have the refugees, and you have the question of how to deal with those people arriving to Europe, which causes big discussion even between the European countries. Then you have right-wing groups being more and more strong, even in the European parliaments. So here you have, so to say, Brussels as the European kind of capital, and you have these, well, nice animals, but actually these are people that dress like foxes. And actually they are, is a right-wing group. If you look at the images that Beate Passo is kind of creating here, this is a very strong political statement that she's doing. We can now see one of the latest work that she actually was producing for the exhibition that is dealing with Brexit. This is the cover of the Daily Express from January 31st, and you can see, yes, we did it. That was it, that was the moment. You had, in the original cover of that newspaper, you had the UK flag in the background. And she was changing that in a very subtle way. The island is again back in water, but maybe is also in danger to sink, you could say. So she's making these comments. I mean, we were talking a lot, obviously, preparing the exhibition, but also then when Beate is doing tours through the exhibition. And we can see here Budapest as the last piece in the exhibition, but also the last one that she was producing within that series Monkey Business. And I was asking her if now maybe the next one would deal with COVID-19 again. And she said that is still too close. At the same time, this will continue. The whole series is not finished yet. So I guess we can wait for new works from Beate Passo.
I already promised you that we are going to also have a look behind the scenes of an exhibition which is not even public yet. It's still under construction. It's still being prepared. I think let's head there and have a look around, right?
Yes, let's do that.
Nice.
On Tuesday, we will open the exhibition for the public.
Wow, this is a totally different style. This looks super modern.
Well, I told you that this is the second part of the building, like the second phase of VillaStuck. This is the studio that Stuck was building for himself in 1914, 1915. I mean, it's a very strange time, again, to build something new, the beginning of the First World War, but it happened, and he made it, and the spaces are wonderful, and for us they provide a big chance to do large-scale exhibitions. We invited Thierry Chauffroy to talk about certain topics that have, again, a very political aspect. Democracy, diversity, climate change, sustainability. You can see all this fitness equipment here.
What does it mean?
We will invite our guests to use those machines.
Okay. Literally?
Literally.
Okay.
And
that's interesting.
while you are using those machines, which is a physical effort, you will be interviewed on certain topics. So Thierry and his team, they will be in the exhibition. They will be around all the time. The whole thing is only running for 3 weeks. So you do not have a lot of time, but you have 3 weeks to come and to be engaged in this adventure somehow, I guess. The whole thing in the meantime is called the Awareness Muscle Training Center. And the training center is obvious. The awareness muscle, I guess we all are still looking for where to find it. But it is a very important thing to train. And we will be very happy if we can get some answers maybe. Or maybe we will also just have more questions afterwards. But that's also fine, because that is what this is all about. What Thierry basically says is to be aware, to be critical. It means an effort, and is very similar to a physical effort. If you're running, if you're going to the gym, if you are training, you do something for your body, but you also have to do something for your brain. And that is what we will try to do here in this exhibition. Whenever we invite contemporary artists to work on exhibitions in those spaces, they kind of react immediately because the dimensions are kind of ideal. The light is ideal. And you don't have that so much in a building that was meant to be a museum. This was never, when Stuck was building it, meant to be a museum. It was always meant to be a place for artistic production. And that is something I think we are still getting a lot of from. And is something that is also encouraging the artists that we are working with to create their own exhibitions, their own projects in that room.
That's a nice summary. VillaStuck is a place where not only historical but also contemporary art come together in the perfect way. Thank you very much for your time and for sharing.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Not only this place, but also this format was pretty modern. I think it was the first live stream walk through VillaStuck, and I'm very happy that I was part of it. And I want to thank you that you were also part of it. Also, we want to say thank you once more to priceless.com for making this possible, and to Muckbook for organizing the whole event. If you enjoyed it, you are very lucky, because there are more events coming. Find the event and all the other events on priceless.com. I would be very happy to see you there. And until then, I wish you all the best, and especially stay healthy.